Thank you. My name is Andrea Gildner, and I'm a 2-time breast cancer survivor. Thank you. I was a young woman in 1995 at the age of 25 when I was diagnosed originally. I had woke up one morning and simply by accident I found a lump in my left breast. And after literally just ignoring it for a few weeks because I had no family history of cancer and I just never even entertained the thought of cancer, I gave in and I went to see my gynecologist and I had a breast exam, which led to a mammogram, which led to an ultrasound, which eventually won me a breast biopsy. So probably a week or two after I had the biopsy, I was told that I had infiltrating ductal carcinoma with extensive lymphatic involvement. I had 18 out of 18 lymph nodes. So I was in need of radiation as well as chemotherapy. I went through 6 months of radiation and 6 months of chemotherapy and 6 months of radiation, and finished up with my radiation, saw my oncologist like I needed to, followed protocol as far as mammograms, and I'd had a lumpectomy, so still mammograms and breast exams and that type of thing. And I literally was counting down to my 5-year mark, because originally at that appointment, my oncologist had given me a very poor 5-year survival rate. So for me, my eyes were focused on the prize of the 5 years. So that 5 years came, and I will tell you that when I met that 5-year mark, I walked away. Actually, that's a lie. I ran away, and I never looked back. And I went on with my life. I had another baby. I had my daughter that the doctor said that I would never be able to have because my ovaries had been suppressed from the chemotherapy. And I was living life, enjoying it immensely. In the summer of 2004, I started to notice a little bit of swelling under my left breast. Again, I never entertained the thought of cancer because I had had cancer. I was so naive to the disease that I seriously thought 5 years cancer-free meant that I would never, ever have cancer again. I let the swelling kind of came and went, and again, I never entertained the thought of a reoccurrence. And that fall, October, I woke up and had some very noticeable changes to my breast, literally overnight, okay? I was never the obsessive type of person that I obsessed over my breast, did not get excited about anything, but it was very noticeable. Red, swollen, just some very noticeable changes. So I went to work that morning, and at the time I worked for a gynecologist, and my best friend worked at the office with me. And I remember walking in that morning and just walking over to her desk and telling her, "Get in the bathroom, I need to show you my boob." So we went in the bathroom, and I wanted to just make sure, is this real? Do you see this redness? Do you notice that there's a difference in the breast? And she did. So I called my surgeon. I went in, had a breast exam, which led to an ultrasound. And I will tell you that just 9 months before that, I had a normal mammogram. So doctor sent me for an ultrasound, which led to a biopsy. And that biopsy confirmed a reoccurrence of breast cancer. Only this time, it was inflammatory breast cancer. So I will tell you, when hearing the words, "I am sorry, Andrea, but it is malignant," it was like going 100 miles an hour and being slammed into a brick wall. I was no way prepared for him to tell me that. I, again, never entertained the possibility that I could have a reoccurrence. So I decided at that time that I wanted a bilateral radical mastectomy, and I wanted it now, if I could. This was a Friday. So my now never came until that Monday. But I went in, I had bilateral radical mastectomy, and probably about a week after that, we got more devastating news when we found out at that time that the cancer was inflammatory, which meant that I absolutely should never have had my breast removed. I should have had treatment before that happened. So now I have appointments set up, I have imaging to do to find out the staging of this disease, and I visit my local radiation oncologist, who tells my husband and my parents at that time that, unfortunately, because I had already received normal conventional radiation, I had been maxed out on radiation, and it was not an option for me. Okay, I knew at that time how aggressive my disease was, and I also knew from my own research that radiation was vital for my survival. So I left that appointment with my tail between my legs. I sat and had to listen to this radiation oncologist offer me a 12 to 18 month prognosis. Now, I had a 14-year-old and a 7-year-old at home. And I went home, and probably 2 days after being told this, I informed my family that I had decided that I was not going to have treatment. I didn't want to put myself nor my family through the misery of what chemotherapy has to offer. My dad, however, was not willing to surrender so easily. And if he were here today, he would tell you that he started frantically searching the web for other options. And I will tell you that him frantically searching the internet found my miracle. There was an ad for Cancer Treatment Centers of America promoting tomotherapy. And so after reading the ad, I made the phone call and I agreed to a second opinion and a consultation with a radiation oncologist at the Cancer Treatment Centers of America. I spent 5 days there, and on the 5th day, I met with Dr. Eden, who told me that he had a plan for me. He said, you go home and you pack your bags and you come back here, and we are going to start simulation. And in approximately 7 to 10 days, you are going to have your first radiation treatment with tomotherapy. Now, the reason that the tomo was so important and it was so vital for my survival was because I had extensive lymphatic and dermal involvement. You could literally see the cancer from the time I had surgery until my appointment at Cancer Treatment Centers of America was about 17 days. And you could see the redness, you could see the cancer moving across my chest, across my skin on my chest wall. So it was the tomotherapy, literally, I will tell you today with all sincerity that tomotherapy saved my life. And if it were not for, I believe, ultimately divine intervention, with my dad getting on the internet and reading the ad for Cancer Treatment Centers of America promoting tomotherapy, I would not be here this morning to share my story with you. So I would like to say thank you to all of you for what you do. Continue to do what you do. Know that there are other people out there. There are more men, there are more women, there are people that tomotherapy can make a difference for, just like it did for me. I celebrated, November 1st will be 8 years that I had my surgery, and December of this year will be 8 years since I started tomotherapy. So tomotherapy gave me 8 more birthdays. Tomotherapy allowed me to be here to see my son graduate high school and to be a successful young man today. Tomotherapy allowed me to see my daughter dress up for her first formal dance. It's allowed me more days with my husband and my children. this whole cancer thing has just given me such a profound respect for every single day that I have, for every single day that I am given. And so remember me, remember my story, and remember that there are more people out there who can benefit just like I did from tomotherapy. So thank you for allowing me to be here and share with you for a few minutes.